Well, hello everyone. Guess what today is? You're right, it's Friday, and Friday is my Monday. Okay, y'all, we have a lot to talk about today. Our topic is going to be about real estate, of course, and then it's also going to be about your work ethic and how you became you and how you continue to become the you that you want to be, okay? First, I want to start with, y'all, our spring has sprung in January. Our January has been off the charts, y'all. We are listing houses, we are selling houses. People are coming to our open houses. And this is the question that everyone asks, right? When is the right time to put my house on the market? How are interest rates? Are they in the fours yet? The answer to that is no, by the way. But is it stopping anyone from coming to the open houses? Is it stopping anyone from giving us offers? No. Why? Because people want to buy houses. We have people that want to buy houses and we have people that want to sell houses. And my job is to be the matchmaker and to bring them together. Okay. And that kind of goes into the work ethic thing, right? It's been just a wild week, y'all. I got a flat tire last night, so I did have to cancel my appointments. I was really bummed about that. However, we were able to reschedule them, so we'll get those hooked up for the weekend and get that buyer in the homes that he wants to see. We sold a bunch of houses. We sold some that were not ours, and we had inspections like crazy, because inspections are such an important part of the process. You know, you hire a realtor, you interview a realtor, you're walking them through the process, and when you're walking them through the process, once you get the house, then you negotiate the terms and the price and really get your financing in order. Financing conversations are a huge part of buying a home, okay? And you have to be working with the lender who understands your situation. Your situation is different than everybody else's, right? So you have to work with a lender who understands who you are, what your finances are, how much money you have, and how much money you want to put down, and if it's going to work for your life, right? Okay, I won't harp on that because that's really not what today's podcast is about. It's really about, you know, the market. It's heating up. It's doing just like great so far. I am like so looking forward to real estate in 2026. I cannot wait to show you all the houses that we're listing, y'all. And we're also recruiting. We have now been in interviews with 3 different agents that may join our team. And this goes back into the topic of our podcast, is work ethic. So before we offer someone a position on our team to help people buy and sell homes, we watch them. And we are watching them on social media. We are watching what kind of business that they do, what kind of business they run, what have they done in the past. Are they able to keep up with the level of service that we offer to our clients? Because we're not normal, you know, and that's something that I've learned over time. You know, I've told this story a million times, but a long time ago, I was helping a friend, and she was really high maintenance and like extremely high maintenance. This was years and years ago. And I looked at my husband and I was just like, why do I get all of these high maintenance women who are just like constantly beating me up and not trusting that I've got this, you know, because I am so going to make sure that their house is taken care of because I do it. Like, they don't even have to beat me up because it's just who I am, right? Like, I have a high level of service and expectations of how I sell homes, and I'm going to give it to you whether you're, you know, riding, you know, on top of me or not. So my husband looked at me and he was like, "You don't know?" And I was like, what don't I know? He goes, "You get the high maintenance people because you're one of them." And I was like, "Oh, all right. You attract those kind of people who want service, they want integrity, they want negotiating, they want no BS, they want all of those things, right?" And well, that's who I am. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of what I think is really important for us to talk about, and that is your work ethic. Okay, I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care what you do, and I don't care if you're 18 and working at Starbucks or at HEB or at a grocery store or Target or in a law firm or whatever it is. your work ethic says so much about you. And that is something that you carry with you through your entire life, okay? If you don't like your job, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a good work ethic. If you're waiting tables, I started working at 12 years old. It was in the restaurant business. I was a bus girl, and then I made my way up, and I've been working, my whole life basically, right? But some of the jobs that kind of made me who I am, the work ethic definitely came from my mom, right? Watching my mom work as a single mom, and literally, of course she had to go to work in order to put food on the table. She had to do a lot of things. But watching her and how she just never stopped. It didn't matter how tired she was or whatever it was. She showed up and she did her job at the highest level so that she could make money and take care of our family. And I was thinking about all the jobs that I've had. I've worked in a law firm. I've worked in an accounting firm. I worked in an oil company in the accounting department. I was a nanny for a family, a couple of them, but one specific family, I was their nanny, and they actually took me to Belize I think 3 or 4 times. First time out of the country ever. I had to get a passport, and I was taking care of the kids while there's 2 or 3 couples that would come, 2, 3 or 4 couples, and then I would kind of take care of the kids if they went off to dinner or whatever, because we were all staying in these different little, kind of villas, I guess, in Belize. And it was in this island on San Pedro. And so I was the nanny to the fullest, right? I was like, yes, let's do this. And it was an amazing experience. I got to hang out with a bunch of kiddos, and they even gave me one day to myself, which was really cool. I get to lay out by the pool and all the things. I was a teenager, so I was living the high life. Now, working at the oil company in the accounting department, it was just a one-man show. I was her assistant, and literally learned so much from her. She was like a big sister. I learned skills. I learned accounting. I learned my office skills, right? I learned how to type labels. I learned how to file things. Because if no one's ever showed you how to do those things, you don't know, right? So I picked up those skills. Oh, those were office skills that I picked up. Office etiquette, how to dress, what to say, how to talk on the phone with another person in the same room. All those things. Then I started working for a law firm. Now, this is what sparked a conversation this week with my staff, and my staff always laughs at me. So I really think I'm funny, but I really think it's just because I pay them. So my jokes don't always go off well in these podcasts, so I'll spare you some of the jokes. But we were talking about why I'm crazy, why I'm so anal, why I'm no, it must be this way. And sometimes I can't even explain why I want something a certain way. I'm just I just need you to do it because this is what works for me, okay? I guess that's part of my neurotic behavior. Now, it's the staples. When I worked at this law firm, I had different lawyers. They were, some right-handed, some left-handed, some, had, thought this way and thought this way. So I was the receptionist, and I would take the facsimiles off of the fax machine, and they were thermal paper. So I had to flatten them. So we had to put them something in this book or whatever, flatten them. And then I had to make sure that I cut the paper where that fax ended. So you had to cut it off. And then the staples, okay? There was a guide next to both the copy machine and the fax machine, and it was, okay, this attorney likes her staples in the top left-hand corner at an angle. And this is where she wants it on the paper. The other one liked it in the middle. With this one lawyer, he liked to put his files, and he put 2 holes in it in the file folder right here. So he liked his stuff stapled in the middle so that he knew what he could grab out of his file. Then I had a left-handed guy who wanted his staples on the right-hand side. And, I was when I first was given the instruction, most teenagers would be eye roll. And I looked at it as, oh, this is so interesting. And how people are all different, and how the expectations of what they need in order to do their job at a high level, I could do that for them. And that was the start of it. Then I went to work for Pappas, the most militant restaurant training that I could probably have ever gotten, to the point where if you didn't know your food, if you didn't know every single thing that was coming off of that tray, you failed that shift. Okay, they're not as militant as they used to be, but they should be, because it made me crazy. So there was these people, and this is the last story I tell you about the restaurant business. This is an example of a little girl, 19 years old. I made it to a manager. I was a floor manager, right? I was working one of my shifts, and these waiters and waitresses have been there for years, right? Like years. They were like lifers, and they were probably gonna wait tables until they're like 35 and then figure out what else they, wanted to do in life, right? I'm 19, I've got a set of keys to my restaurant, and my very first shift, Harris Pappas comes in. And he was like, hello, are you the floor manager? I was like, yes, my name's Audra. I'm the floor manager today. And he was like, well, I'm Harris Pappas. I was like, hi, how are you? And he had walked around the restaurant already once. He grabbed me by the arm and he goes, come with me. I said, okay. And we had these giant planters, like kind of separating like the wait station from like when you turned to go to another section. And he took me to the planter and he was like, do you see anything? And I was like, well, no, is something wrong with it? He goes, there's a mint wrapper in the planter. And I was like, oh. He was like, that doesn't belong there. I was like, okay. So you better believe it that never happened again. Like, right? So when the owner of a major chain of this restaurant that you're working for does that. So of course I don't do it quite like that, but I do manage my world to where little things like that, even though nobody probably would have noticed. Do you know, to this day, I look in those planters everywhere I go. Every time I go to a Pappas restaurant, I look at different things like that in every single restaurant that I go to, because I will never forget that moment. And we run our real estate game like that. So it doesn't matter if you're waiting tables. It doesn't matter if you are managing a restaurant, if you are working in a law firm, if you're going to court every day. What you do at the very highest level, be the best. Be the best. Be the best barista. Be the best waitress. Be the best attorney. Be the best realtor. Answer your phone. Answer your phone. Y'all, this week, in real estate, I was on the phone with lots and lots of realtors. And do you know that less than 5% of the time do they actually pick up their phone? Okay? So be the best, because the work ethic will never leave you. It will never leave you, no matter what you're doing. Even if you switch industries, once you grow up and you get different jobs, and it doesn't matter what it is. Even if you're a TikToker, your work ethic is going to determine how much money you make, whether you're selling things on TikTok or you are selling real estate or you're just going to work every day. Do it to the best of your ability and be the best, because it does matter. The people are out there that are saying that it doesn't matter and people don't notice and I make the same amount no matter what effort I give. It matters to you. It matters to the people that are watching you. It matters to the children that are watching you, to the teenagers that are watching you, to the young people that are working at that same company. They're watching you. So don't ask why. Don't ask why should I. Just do it. All right, that's it for today. I've got to get to work. Y'all have a great day.